Greetings. My name is Dr. Mark Schaffer. I want to welcome our guests to Education Elevated. And this is our Thompson School District podcast. Today, you're in for a real treat. We have two, not just one, but two incredible guests to talk about something that is really the first in the state of Colorado, and that is our state award-winning flag football team. So really, really excited. Joining me today is a student, Mason Premer. Mason is a student at Berthoud High School, and her coach, Tim Test. And Tim, you're also an employee, I know, in the Thompson School District. So welcome. I'm going to have each of you just briefly introduce yourselves to our listening audience.
Hi, I am Mason Premer. I am a senior at Berthoud High School. I play softball there and golf, and I also play flag football for the Mountain View Mountain Lions, and we recently won state, which was so fun, and had a great experience with that.
That's awesome. Great to meet you. And Tim.
I'm Tim Test. I've been blessed to be in Thompson School District now since April. My first job and my current job is at Berthoud Elementary School, Soar Eagles, and really happy to be there as their tech facilitator, the computer lab teacher. And then in June, I got my second blessing to become the first head coach of girls flag football at Mountain View High School. And it's just been an incredible year. I've been a flag football coach since 2006, and so it's been a real treat to see the sport go to the next level.
Great. Well, we're can't wait to talk all about flag football. But before we dive into any of that, I'm going to ask just a question that I'm sure all our listeners want to know. What's the most exciting vacation you've ever taken? Mason?
For me, I got to go to the Dominican Republic with my grandma and my sister in January, and that was very exciting.
Awesome. What was one highlight from that trip?
We got to go on an excursion where we actually got to swim with horses, which was so fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tim?
I think a lot of people would think it's kind of boring, but for me, it was definitely my first trip to Florida. And as you're going to learn, a lot of my identity is tied into flag football. I was able to take the first 13 and 14U Denver Broncos flag football boys team to Florida to compete at the NFL Flag Championship at the Pro Bowl. And my incredible wife, Sarah, who is another Thompson School District employee, she was able to join us. And so it was both an incredible vacation football-wise, my first trip to Disney World. I'm a huge Disney fan, and having my wife there to watch it all was just incredible. And that's actually the first time I saw all-girls flag football.
That's awesome. So, Mason, you are my very first student on my podcast. You said you were a senior at Berthoud High School. So what is one thing that you absolutely love about your school and being a student at Berthoud High School? And maybe what is one opportunity?
One thing that I absolutely love about Berthoud is the people that go there. We have an amazing staff, an amazing student body. Everyone gets along, and it's just amazing there. And for opportunity, I would have to say my most recent, which was to play flag football. Not for Berthoud, but I still got to play as a Berthoud student, so it was great.
That's great. Well, thanks for sharing that. Okay, we're gonna just jump right into flag football, and before we go through just like everything about it, when I hear flag football, obviously I'm very familiar with football. I think I even might have played flag football when I was in junior high many years ago. How do you play flag football? What are the key differences between flag football and maybe regular football? Talk to me about penalties, equipment, facilities, all that. Whoever wants to go.
So the beautiful thing about flag football versus traditional tackle football is, for me, the immediate thing is that it is very, very, it brings more opportunity for so many more people to compete. I absolutely love that. It's a real pick up and play game, and a chance for people that maybe don't have an opportunity to play traditional tackle football. They still get to play and they get to compete. The biggest difference is always, obviously, is the difference between tackling to stop a play versus grabbing a flag. But past that, it's a lot more up-tempo game. I do love traditional tackle football. Go Broncos. Congratulations to Thompson Valley on their huge state win. But if we're honest, there's a little bit of play time and then a lot of getting ready for the next play. Flag is much more up speed, up tempo, fast downhill passing game, not as much running, compared to tackle. And I think that makes it really an exciting sport to not only coach but to watch.
So Mason, from a player perspective, tell me a little bit about maybe positions, the position you played, maybe some additional rules of the game.
Yeah, so as a quarterback, there are blockers in the league that we played in, and it would look a lot different than tackle football because there were 1 or 2, maybe 3 blockers at a time. The opponent was allowed to send as many rushers as they want, so it was really just about who you have blocking, how much time they can give you to pass, or if you are able to run it as well. So I would agree with Coach Tim that it is more of a passing game than you would see in traditional football.
And then in terms of like uniform, I'd imagine, well, what is your uniform? What do you wear for flag football?
We just wore shorts and our jerseys and our flags. That was about it for our uniform. So no pads or anything, and a mouth guard. We'd have to have a mouth guard. So
interesting. Is it the same concept then as football where there's like 4 downs and penalties and things like, yeah, tell me a little bit about that, Mason.
Yeah, those are all the same as football. Penalties look a little bit different, obviously. No holding, nothing like that. But still penalties, loss of downs because of that, loss of yards, still 4 downs. Everything else is the same. Field size is a little bit different, a little bit smaller than a typical field, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward as regular football.
How much did you know about football before playing flag football?
Barely anything.
So any interest whatsoever, or?
I definitely had interest in it, in the game itself. As far as rules and technicalities of it went, I knew nothing.
Gotcha. Tim, anything you would add?
Yeah, I was just going to say there are a lot of similarities. I mean, it's based off the same thing, much in line with softball and baseball being, virtual siblings. One thing that CHSA did really great this first year is there's a lot of different flag football rules. And CHSA wanted to make sure to align Colorado along with what other states are doing, and even at the college level. Now that's being offered as college. In fact, a lot of schools are now offering scholarships to go play flag football in college. So I would say the biggest difference, Mason alluded to it, is it's 20 yards shorter than a tackle field. The traditional end zones, the front of the end zones are the back of our end zones, which start at the 10. And then another big difference is we do have 4 downs, but we have, instead of going 10 yards, it's every 20 yards. It's really interesting. When I first saw this, I couldn't believe it was right, but you basically start possession. There's no kickoffs. You start possession at the 14-yard line, and you're 1st and 6 to the next line of game, which is the 20. Anybody looking at it as a traditional tackle field, it looks like the 30. So you got to that took a little getting used to. But anyways, we'll say the flag 20. So we're at the 14-yard line. We got 6 yards to go, get that first down. Then the next 20 is midfield, the 40, then the 20, then the end zone. No kicking as far as kickoffs. However, there was punts. On 4th down, we could elect to go for it, just like in tackle, or we could punt. And punt returns were live, and those actually led to 2 of the most spectacular plays that we had all year long.
Great, and we're gonna get to that because I'm gonna ask for highlights and memories from this season. So let's so flag football, as you've alluded to, Tim, has been around for a bit at the college level. Newer at the high school level, certainly sanctioned. You mentioned CHSA, which is our high school athletic association here in the state of Colorado. What was the genesis and, in terms of the launch? Because this is really the first time in the history of the state, is my understanding, that flag football has been a recognized and sanctioned sport.
Well, a ton of praise, if not all praise, goes to the Denver Broncos. They have been so huge. Bobby Mestis and his team with Broncos off the field has just been doing a spectacular job of making it happen, from starting the program of sending a team to the Pro Bowl, which I was the first in 2017, and he's sent a team every year since then. But past that, he and the Broncos wanted to bring high school flag football around years ago, and they've been fighting, and I just think CHSA maybe wasn't quite as ready, and so the Broncos kind of put their money where their mouth is, and they actually introduced a 3-year pilot program. And so in 2022, they had their inaugural high school girls flag season, and 28 teams. It was across 3 different Denver school districts. They participated. And in the second year, in 2023, they were up to 72. So incredible growth. The Broncos were prepared to do a third and final pilot season this year, but thankfully, as we all know, CHSAA did the right thing, voted in April, and we were blessed with the first season that had 64 teams competing. And it will absolutely amaze me if we're not over 100, if not 120 next year.
It's a great story. So Mason, you are a senior at Berthoud High School, but you played for the Mountain View High School flag football team. So talk to me about how that happened. Like, how was the team constituted? How did you find out about it? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so it actually started for, I know, the Berthoud seniors when we got to play in Powder Puff our junior year. We loved it. We took to it right away. We were practicing twice a day for 2 weeks leading up to that game. Loved it. We were so bummed that that was going to be it for our flag football. We never could have dreamed that it would have gotten sanctioned just months later in April. And so as soon as we caught word that it was going to be getting sanctioned, we had no idea what it was going to look like. So we were asking around Berthoud, like, how many girls would be interested in playing here? How can we get this here? And then we found out it was going to be at Mountain View, which we were still stoked about because we just wanted to play. So we actually got a few of our dads to take us out once a week, get us on the field, start teaching us the basics of football so that we were ready when we did get to meet with Coach Tim and assistant coach, Coach Tank. And so we had a baseline kind of understanding of the game because of our dads taking us out. And then we were ready to just meet all the other girls and just didn't look back.
So let's quiz for you. My understanding is that these are for students from all over TSD and maybe some other school districts as well.
Yeah.
So where are they all from?
So St. Vrain, I know we have one girl from Longmont, we have Roosevelt, we have all three schools in Loveland. So we've got Thompson, Mountain View, and Loveland High School, and then we have Berthoud High School. Am I missing one? Resurrection Christian is the seventh one there. So we have girls from all of those 7 schools on the one team.
Nice job. And so, Coach Tim, how did we get this confederation of all this talent from across northern Colorado?
Well, as Mason, of course, talked about, it was so funny because we knew the vote was happening, and this is before I got the job. But a mom out of Berthoud, Janie Crosby, she kind of reached out to me. It's almost like she Googled Northern Colorado flag football. Oh, Tim Test. Okay. And so she actually reached out to me. And again, there was, I think, just a little teeny confusion at the beginning about would every school be able to do it. But as we know, Thompson School District had committed to Mountain View being the pilot school, and they did a phenomenal job. And I'm actually really grateful they did because they were the only one. We were able to have these girls from all over the place instead of diluting the little base there was to begin with, So, yeah, she kind of reached out to me, and Kevin Clark, our amazing head of athletics at Thompson School District, he let us, him along with Ryan from the AD at Berthoud, let us use Berthoud High School as kind of a town hall, if you will. Hey, if you're a high school girl or middle school girl and you want to learn about flag football, come meet Coach Tim. And boy, I thought that first meeting was going to be maybe 2 or 3 girls and maybe last 15 minutes. And about 22 girls showed up, went for about 2 hours. And there was apologies from about 20 more saying, we have basketball tonight, otherwise we'd be there. So, yeah, the dad she mentioned, myself and my friend Coach Noah Tank, we just started kind of offering a free drop-in, come learn how to play flag football at Berthoud Rec. And then once I got the job at Mountain View, we were able to transition over. So that was wonderful to meet all the girls from Berthoud. And then word started spreading. And, it was funny. We had 3 of the TSD schools. It was Loveland, who was a little late to the game. We're like, boy, how in the world do we not have anybody from Loveland when I know what a football community Loveland is? And the first day of official practice, August 12th, I'll never forget, we ended up meeting 3 girls from Loveland High School. So 3 amazing, amazing girls who just made our team complete and blended in within moments.
That's awesome. Mason, as you think about, team spirit, team unity, having all of these players from different schools, and how did you all blend together?
We did a lot of team building exercises in the first couple of days of practices, just getting to know the basics about each other, like you would know if we went to the same school. So just basic stuff about us, and I really can't remember much past that. We just became family right after that. It's crazy. I can't remember how it happened. We just became family.
So again, I'll give credit to the Broncos here. They really spoiled us. They offer a fall CHSAA, media day for the defending state champions. we obviously were not the defending state champions at that point because we were brand new, but they still invited us to come. And it was a day I'll never forget. I was able to, they said, hey, make sure you have 5 or 6. That's about all that hangs out the podium. I'm like, well, I have 10 seniors. And he's like, you do you, coach. And so I was able to take the girls, and I think we had an incredible day together. And I think that was the first time that we really started to click. We had a nice lunch together after. I determined early on who our captains were going to be. Mason, of course, was one of our captains. Kendall Finley from Longmont, she was our other. And boy, they just brought it all together.
That's great. So let's go into the season. So I want to hear a little bit about practices. What did Coach have you do for practice? Learning the game. I mean, did people come with a familiarity, or did you actually have to learn? What did all that look like?
We definitely had to start learning from the very first day. Coach Tank pointed out to us a few times that because of the Broncos season that had been the couple years prior to us, we were a little bit behind the other teams because we had not been playing at all. A lot of girls had never hardly even picked up a football. So we definitely started with the basics and took our time where we could with basics, running good routes, throwing good balls, stuff like that. We took as much time with that as we could while not falling further behind the other teams. And then we went straight into offensive install, defensive install, just everything you can think of to learn how the game runs and stuff like that. So we moved at a really fast pace for learning a brand new sport, I would say. But, I mean, we picked it up pretty good and then just went from there.
How long were practices and how often? Like how many days a week?
They were 2 hours every day a week for a long time. Like we started in the middle of the summer with what we could, and then as soon as August 12th hit and we were allowed to practice every day, 2 hours is what we did.
And how did you run practices?
So kind of before and while I answer that question, I really want to give a lot of shout out and credit to our assistant coach, Noah Tank. When I got the job, I knew I needed somebody that had a little more football IQ than I do. I never went to a traditional high school that offered sports, never played myself. I have coached younger kids forever, but it's been a lot of what I just kind of picked up over the years. I run plays in my offenses called Pink Bunny and Round the World. And so I knew that I needed somebody that had that football high school football culture and skills and drills and all that IQ. And Coach Tank being a former player himself, a flag football coach himself, I knew that he made up what I lacked. And we had a really great marriage of my organizational skills and taking care of things kind of, I guess if you're in the restaurant business, you say, I worked on the business while he worked in the business. So he did a phenomenal job from day one of teaching the girls the skills they needed, holding them accountable, really, really diagnosing early on who our playmakers were, who we could, build a foundation on. We play 7-on-7 football, and our varsity for most of the season had 11, and he had 3 girls go both ways. So Gwen Marks, Mia Artis, both from Berthoud High, and of course Kendall Finley from Longmont High. So again, all the credit in the world to him. So he designed our practices really smartly, where it was one day in the gym, actually doing circuits, one day film study if we had it on the previous or upcoming opponent. One day offense, one day defense. And so during practices, I definitely took on more of a support role. But I think that, like I said, marriage of our 2 skill sets is what produced the state championship.
That's outstanding. So we're going to go into the season, and we're not going to look at the playoffs yet because obviously we know this has a super happy ending. But so within the season, I'll ask the same question to both of you, and Mason, we'll start with you first. What was like the most memorable game or play or something that happened during the season that you recall?
During the season, I'm going to have to go with our very first game. It was at Thornton High School. We had never played in an official game before. We had no idea what to expect. We went in there, we were all so nervous. We really had no idea what to expect. And what was it, Coach? 14 minutes we played in that game?
14 total minutes. Coach Tank and I had agreed that once we hit Mercy Rule, which was 32 points, that we would pull the starters if that ever happened. That was a break glass in case of emergency. The girls accomplished that, 12-minute quarters, by the way. They accomplished that 2 minutes into the second quarter.
Wow.
So we won that game 34-0. Our varsity won 32-0 in the first 14 minutes, and our JV scored a safety to get 2 points, but held the other team's varsity out of the end zone for the rest of the game. So we realized at that point we probably needed to adjust our how much, because we didn't want the varsity to just be playing for like 12 minutes, you know?
So that was your most, and you said you were quarterback, right? So did you throw a number of touchdown passes, I would imagine?
I did. I don't remember how many it was now. I just remember thinking, oh, we're a pretty good team right now. Like, we're looking pretty good for our first game.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Just to rack up 34 points in just a few minutes.
It was 6.
Yeah, that's six touchdown passes. That's pretty great. I have to
No,
draft.
my math is not math, and it was 5. I'm sorry, Mason.
All
I'm trying. I always want to give her more credit.
Wow, that would be a lot of fantasy football points if we go that. Tim, same question to you. Was that your most memorable game, or do you have another one?
Honestly, so many were, some for the wrong reasons, but for me, it was probably our senior night at Berthoud High School. And the reason for that is I really wanted all season long to both celebrate Mountain View and Thompson School District. They were the ones that gave us the chance. I always wanted to give the praise to them. I love that our first home game was on Mountain View soil. But out of my 21 players in total, 7 of them were from Berthoud. So, and out of the seniors, 6 of the 10 were from Berthoud, and the other 4 were all from individual schools. So it was really important to me to make sure that we got to play that senior night at Max Mar. And the powers that be, Ryan and Ryan got together, Kevin, and they made it happen. And I think I was able to put on a pretty nice senior presentation for the girls. They absolutely deserve it. And I alluded to this earlier. We had worked on punt return specifically for weeks, and Coach Tank had installed a option for the main punter in the middle to swing it out to the left. And Ellie Harper from Berthoud High on 2 games previous just came forward a little too much, and we got that penalty for an illegal forward pass. And it was that night on senior night at her home school that she did it perfectly and ran it all in for the touchdown. First time we actually were able to pull that play off, and it went for a touchdown.
That's definitely poetic. That's
Yeah.
Great. So lots of games. How many total games are in the regular season? Do you know offhand? About
15.
15.
We only got to play 14, but one team forfeited.
Okay.
We kind of made the joke that because we had won our first 13 games in a row by a margin of 20 points or more.
Okay.
So we joked that by them forfeiting, we only won 2-0. So they were the first team to figure out how to keep us within 20.
I see. And then, so a number of home games, and then away games. Are they all regional, or did you have to travel far for any of these?
Well, so one thing that I haven't mentioned so far is part of what made Mountain View flag football so special. Part of the reason we had 7 schools is out of the 64 teams that played this inaugural season of Shasta flag football, 63 were in Thornton, Westminster, Northglenn, and South Colorado Springs. Mountain View was the only one. Thompson School District was the only Northern Colorado school district. That's why I've said several times before the game, we're Team Mountain View, we're Team Thompson School District, and we're Team Northern Colorado. So because of that, our away games were at Aurora twice. It would have been 3 times if the third one had forfeited. And our final regular season game was in Highlands Ranch at Valor.
So moving now to the playoffs. So undefeated season up to this point.
Unfortunately, not true.
You lost
our final game. Yeah.
Okay.
Against Valor, we lost. That was an eye opener. First time we'd really ever truly trailed for a while. They went up 18-0 on us, scoring on the first play. But the resiliency of this team is amazing, because being down 18, we ended up taking the lead 29-18. But kudos to them. They have the same kind of resiliency, and it was back and forth to the very end with them winning 37-35.
Okay.
Giving us our first loss in the final regular season game.
So a little bit humility and humbling, but still an extraordinary regular season. You head into the playoffs. So tell me, what did that look like? How many games? How did that get to that road?
So the first round of playoffs was 2 games, and coming off of the loss at Valor, I think we definitely struggled a little bit more than we would have hoped in those first 2 games. But, I mean, we all kept saying it doesn't matter how we get there, we just need to get there. So we survived the first day, and then had a super great week of practice leading into the final day of 2 more games, and the second one being the state championship.
So the playoff structure is at 2, and then the final, and then the championship. Is that how it works? Where you?
Yeah. Yep. Two games again, single elimination tournament. So first 2 games on, I believe it was Saturday, October 26th. And then the following weekend on Saturday, November 2nd, we had our semifinal against George Washington. And then we went to play TCA, which is kind of poetic because we were the number 1 and 2 seeds all season long. We were the number 1 seed, and that loss to Valor moved us to number 2. And I'll never forget Kendall, going into that state championship. I'm like, man, if only we could have did this, we'd be the number 1. And she's like, it's okay, coach. It just means we get to wear both uniforms in the same day.
So Mason, definitely legit that you are in the state championship game, right? First time ever, representing not only Berthoud and Thompson School District in Northern Colorado, but the game that if you win, you're going to have the state title. How did that feel? Like, what was going through your mind during the game?
It was a little bit intimidating. I've never made it this far in any of my sports, and none of the girls had, except for I think we have one girl who made it that far in basketball. But other than that, we had never made it that far. We were looking at it before the game like the worst that we can do is second place right now. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And we had a really great mindset going into that last game specifically that I think we lacked in the earlier stages of the playoffs. We had a lot of talks beforehand and just kind of came to a calmness of like, the worst we can get is second place, and that was amazing for all of us. So we were ready for that game, and we played calm and cool and collected for the majority of it, which I think was a huge factor to our success.
She's being very humble. The first 2 games were nail biters and terrifying, and we were out of our element. We were not playing Mountain View Lions flag football. The state championship, we won 26-0, including 3 picks, including the final pick 6 to win, sealed the deal. They were definitely calm and cool and collected, but they were incredible, just like they have been all season long.
We are, as a school district, super proud of our students, certainly of the coaching staff team. Really, the parents. So I would imagine you had like a following. You had a lot of people. What did that feel like to play for your fans, for parents, family members, friends?
It was amazing because, as we've mentioned, it's not just Berthoud fans that we're playing for. It's not just our small town that we live in. It is Northern Colorado. It is parents from all of these different schools, and now they all know our names, and they know we play with their daughters, and we're all one team, and it was amazing. It was something that is unforgettable, truly, and an experience that not a lot of people get, so we all recognize how lucky we are to have that exact experience.
That's awesome. So just let's put it all together. We talked about the most exciting game. We talked about other highlights. So as you reflect upon the entire season in its totality, what is your single greatest memory, takeaway, just something that you'll always have with you? Start with you, Mason.
For me, it's learning how to make all of these girls that are strangers into family, and family that can accomplish what we accomplished in such a short period of time. Because we would look back and say, we've only been playing together for 5 months. Really? Like, this is insane. And to have come as far as we did, and we all just had a blast with it too. It was so much fun. That is my biggest takeaway of how to just form that family in that amount of time. And I know I'm so lucky to have been a part of that.
For me, it was just watching these incredible people that happen to also be incredible athletes. Again, I'm going to humble brag on Mason a little bit here. We learned quickly on that a lot of other quarterbacks really were running quarterbacks and maybe passed for about 600-700 yards in the season. Mason threw for 3,003 yards, 48 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, in addition to rushing for over 700 yards and another 8 touchdowns. In addition to being the only player in Shasta flag football this season to throw a touchdown, receive a touchdown, and run in a touchdown. In addition to be selected Shasta Player of the Year and Quarterback of the Year, and that's the same across 2 or 3 other outlets. So for me, having this girl as my captain, as my leader, as my quarterback, I mean, how many lotteries did I win this year? You know what I mean? Past that, though, I could brag about every girl on this team. It was just truly special, and they really did. They really did become a sisterhood that's going to last well after that last score did. And I think a special memory for me in a sea of many, many, many special memories. Our final practice before the state championship was actually on Halloween, and the girls all showed up in costumes. Mason, I believe, had a swan on her head. And there's my quarterback, my 3,000-yard passer that most NFL teams would be jealous of. And she's chucking just perfect dimes, with that swan on her head. And the girls were just having so much fun. And I love that I had a small part in helping create that.
Sounds like an absolutely legendary season, and just wow, set the marker really high for the future. So speaking of future, Mason, what is in your future? Is it professional flag football player, or when you graduate Berthoud, what are your plans?
I have not decided yet, but flag football has definitely opened a couple windows for me that I had no idea would be there before. So I've got a lot to think about and a lot of opportunities, I'd say, that really excite me. So we'll see.
That's great. And Tim, future of flag football, and where do you see us going next year with this?
Well, I'm just, again, so excited. Yeah, the growth has been slow, but it's happening. It's here. Like I said, I'll be shocked if we're not talking over 100 teams next year in CHSAA. I'd like to see other school districts go. Obviously, I don't, because I love being able to pull from so many great talent pools. But at the same time, it's just such an incredible opportunity for more people to learn and love and share the game that we all love. And so who wouldn't want that, And it's growing. I'm excited for it to be an Olympic sport in 2028. I'm excited for more colleges to get on board, so just more opportunities. And for me, I love that at Berthoud Elementary, every day in my class, but especially my little girls would go, "How did your girls do last night, Mr. Test? How did your girls do?" And I said it during our banquet, and I'll say it forever. I grew up with heroes with names on the back of their jerseys like Elway and Manning. And now my 3rd and 4th and 5th graders are going to join my girls flag football club this spring at Berthoud Elementary. And their heroes now have names like Finley and Marks and Artis and Premer.
Well, final question as we conclude. We have a vast listening audience. I mean, you have how many people are listening to this right now, and I'm sure they're absolutely riveted as I am. Any parting thoughts or reflections or anything else you'd like to share with those that are tuned in?
I just can't state enough how thankful I am for this opportunity. It is such a unique opportunity that, especially being a senior, I know I will never get back again. And for it to have been as successful and as fun as it was, and I know that I learned a lot during the season, so I'm just so thankful that the district and Mountain View made this happen for all of us.
We'd be here for another hour if I thanked everybody that had a part in this season, and so I can't do that. But if you know who you are, and thank you, and Sarah, I love you. I don't know another wife that would say, "Hey, let this guy go coach not only the 2 Mountain View flag football teams, varsity and JV, but 3 NOCO NFL flag youth teams as well." But honestly, I'm just so excited it's here. I'm so blessed to be part of it. So blessed to know these amazing people that I know and I will love forever. And, there will be other state champions, I'm sure. There'll be other teams. There'll be other Mountain View teams. I'm sure we'll eventually have other Thompson School District teams. But there'll never be another first.
Wow, it's hard to top that, so I won't. On behalf of our podcast here, our huge
Education
Elevated, our huge production team, and everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And tune in next time when we will continue to have amazing guests and just share what makes our district so great. So thank you for tuning in.